Greetings from up north, northern Michigan. Students, I think you can tell that I really do think about you all the time. It's my summer vacation, and yet I'm creating a video with a little bit of my time to help get us started in kindergarten and first grade with snow spirals. And I know you can see behind me and probably wonder why in the world I'm at a lake thinking about snow in the middle of July, but our first project of the year in the Lantern Road Art Room, or if you're working from home, is always Art to Remember. Art to Remember will take our artwork and transfer it onto anything you desire, whether it's a magnet, an apron, or if you don't want to order anything from Art to Remember, they give your artwork back to you, so you still end up with a fine piece of artwork no matter what. To get us started, we're going to be using lines that curve, spiral, or twist. We'll also be using a tiny number of straight lines arranged in a way that looks a bit like a snowflake. To get started, we're going to make sure we're using crayons or oil pastels. If you have oil pastels, I prefer that you use those. If you're in the Lantern Road Art Room, you will have oil pastels because I'll make sure you have a wintry color set to get going. If you're using crayons, that's perfectly fine. Crayons work in the same way oil pastels do, in that they resist water. Later, at the very end of this project, when we put paint on our paper to fully color the background, that will be water paint, and it will completely resist the oil pastel or the crayon. Doesn't matter which one you use. So I'm going to get started with some wintry blue, purple, white, dark blue, and light purple oil pastels on my paper. When I get started, I'm going to make some simple curlicues, spirals, or twists. I don't mind what you want to call them. And I've just made 3 simple ones. I'm going to add to those with some more wintry colors. And if you're thinking you're going to color this whole paper with these, I need you to kick that idea out. Kick it right out of your mind. As I'm adding some spirals, I'm putting them within the first spiral, but you don't have to. You can layer them up if you have a big spiral coming through and make that guy in front of all those tinier ones. At the end of a spiral or 2, I'm not going to make many. I'm going to add a couple snowflakes. I make those by first making a plus sign. See my plus sign at the end of this swirl? And on top of the plus sign, I'm going to add an X. There you go. Easy, speedy, but looks good snowflake. If you love surprises, treat yourself to using your white oil pastel or crayon. You won't see it much now, but boy, when we paint later, you'll really enjoy how it pops out of nowhere. This includes little floaty snowflakes that you would like to pop up and surprise you later. Because we fully paint the background with watercolor, I want you to remember not to color the entire paper. That will actually ruin the watercolor effect. And if you're worried about watercolor ruining oil pastel or crayon, can't happen. Oil pastel and crayon both resist water completely. In fact, when you paint, you can watch the fun of crayon or oil pastel pushing the water away. And I know this recording is a little tough to hear when the wind picks up. It's a pretty windy day on the lake where we stay in the summer. I'm going to add a few touches of white through the spirals I've already made because it gives me a little bit of blended snowy color, and I like that look later. When I'm satisfied and I am done, in my opinion, with my spirals, it's time to paint the background. Please understand, this is probably a 2 art room visit, maybe even 3 art room visits project. So if you're working at home, please don't make yourself or expect yourself to sit down and finish this in one sitting. I don't expect anyone in my art room to sit down and finish this in one class. So I don't expect anyone learning from home to sit down, start this, and work until it's finished. Work until you're finished for the day, and expect to take 2 or 3 times to get this done. Now, if you're having a great time and you've got the time and you're keeping up with all your work appropriately, you're welcome to get into your art and do this all the way through to the finish line if you desire. But that's up to you, the work level you have achieved, and how much work you need to space out and manage through your day. So, with my snowflakes sadly missing, I will add a couple more, and then I'm going to show you what happens when we paint. I've got my paper pretty full of wonderful snow spirals, and by the time I'm finished, this is going to look like a super snowy, swirly sky in my wintry, frosty, cold colors. So I'm going to use my blue water paint, and it's going to be watery. In fact, if you want to get your paper wet with water first, that's fine. It's going to be so watery that it's going to give the background a frosty look. See how this watery paint, and you can see the oil pastel burst through the watery paint, even where I painted white. See that right there, how it's showing up? And because I'm holding my painting up for the camera at a bit of an angle, it is running down. That's why I'm painting the top first, so that you can see what happens when we paint. But you can also see how the paint looks when it's so watery. It has a frosty look to the sky, and you will end up with a beautiful and somewhat surprising, see my surprise white spiral? More surprises, more surprises. A spectacular and surprising swirly snow painting. I'm not going to finish painting so that I can cut the video, and that way you'll be able to get started instead of continuing to watch me work. Do your work well, do your personal best, and remember to take your time.